It may have been the game of the year in the NFL, but it wasn't the results Chicago Bears fans wanted to see as the Bears fell to the San Francisco 49ers 42-38 on Sunday Night Football in Santa Clara. And we are here to break it all down on the Sports Cubicle and Sports from the Couch on WCPT 820 AM, HeartlandSignal.com, WSBC 1240 AM Chicago, and on YouTube at the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado, and boy, oh boy, was that a game. Was that a game on a week that had some stinkers because of the holiday and all the spread schedule? But we saw an amazing game earlier on to see Sunday Night Football on primetime, all the eyes on this one matchup between two playoff teams to see arguably the best game of the season, and the Chicago Bears were in it. And it wasn't because of some miracle because Devin Hester was returning punt returns and kick returns. It wasn't because Brian Urlacher was stripping the ball and the Bears were returning touchdowns from the defensive side. It was because of a great play from your quarterback, from big-time moments from Luther Burden, from big-time coaching from Ben Johnson. And yet it wasn't enough to beat a team that many are considering now a Super Bowl favorite. So that is kind of the gist, right? If you will, the overarching story of what was that game. Just the excitement and the lack of defense, but still so much that we can talk about. And I really focused on three things from this game because there's a lot to take from this Sunday Night Football classic between San Francisco and Chicago, two immortal franchises on the Mount Olympus of NFL royalty, right? Adding another classic to their vaults. And the first note that I saw from this game, after the excitement wore down, after the disappointment went away, was that this offense can go with anybody. And it starts and ends with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. DJ Moore and Zacchaeus were all sick. Rome Odunze had the foot injury. And yet, you have seen from this game and from games prior, guys step up. And from game winners to big first downs to killing the game because they were able to move the ball, bailing out Caleb Williams, from the tight end position, the running backs, and the wide receivers, this Bears offense has stepped up and has lived the mantra, next man up. And it has allowed this team to mature over the season, to get comfortable in Ben Johnson's offense, to have moments like we saw on Sunday Night Football. And it also allows them the opportunity to continue to practice and to study film because it wasn't perfect. And you see all the social media stills of, look at who Caleb missed. He missed DJ again. He missed Swift again. Not understanding how the offense was going one way. His eyes were going one way. What his progress was supposed to be, his progression on reading his receivers. We have none of that in context, right? But when you are doing the film study, there are plenty of times where he misses a receiver, that the offense isn't doing exactly what it was supposed to. I am to take what I have just in front of me, the way we have seen this offense continue to, and I wouldn't say that they're, blowing people out of the water or that this is the best show on turf that we saw with the Rams back in the day when I was a kid. It's a competent offense. And it allows them the affordability to, when I'm making mistakes or starting slow or a sloppy game, that at any given moment, the head coach can call up a play that the quarterback can execute and the talent around him make it a big-time game-changing moment. That's valuable. That wins you games. That gets you to the playoffs. That potentially wins you games in January. What doesn't win you games in January is the way this defense played. And it's not the first time. And it won't be the last time. And it probably is one of the main reasons you can't or won't, or it's improbable or unlikely that you win a Super Bowl. Not that you can't, not that you won't, but if you're looking for it, there it is. This team takes the ball away. They are professional. They aren't lazy. The mistakes they make aren't because of lack of detail or because of boneheaded mistakes. It's just that they can compete with some of the higher end offenses. They can't get pressure on the quarterback. They can't stop top tier A-list receivers. And the tight end position is going to eat up the middle of that field. That doesn't take away how talented Tremaine Edmonds is, TJ Edwards is. What we've seen with Wright or Byard or Gardner Johnson, with Jalen and Jaquan, like, we know how talented Kyle Gordon is. Some of these guys aren't there. Some of these guys are just coming back. This team can take the ball away. This team can't score on defense. At moments, with somebody like Montez Sweat, they do have the ability to do something special, but not enough to bail out your offense. And in some cases, just do their job. Get a stop to win a game at any given point. In Sunday Night Football, they get a stop. Bears win. You can't have that in January. And it's not just your defense has to play better. Your defense has to do something that they haven't done all season. What you're going to ask for them, what makes them special, is not sustainable, not especially not year to year. But it's so hard to not only get the ball, to be in a position to have the other team turn it over, but to then take advantage of it while on defense and score a touchdown, to guarantee points go on the board. That's what makes this Bears defense special. It's not the play-to-play of it. It's not the defense as you would think, as we all think of a defense. It's a team that's going to give up a lot of points, that doesn't have the type of depth or health that you would typically need, or you would think for a defense that has been so successful, that has a Dennis Allen as the play caller. It's just a team that's vulnerable to the running backs and the tight ends. You know, you have Brock Purdy out there looking like Michael Vick, Malik Willis, Tyler Huntley. Like, you just go down the list. It doesn't matter if it's Dak or Jalen Hurts or the backup quarterbacks. The Bears have made QBs look like superstars, like MVPs. And guess what? In the NFL playoffs, most of the quarterbacks are MVP caliber, are in the MVP conversation. So if that's the case, if they're just going to give up points, if they're going to be vulnerable and they're going to be weak to the running back position, to tight ends, to quarterbacks, you know, the most important positions in the field, right? If they're going to be so vulnerable, think about San Francisco, the McCaffreys, Kittles, and this place, Tongas, right? And Brock Purdy. That is a nightmare. That is a nightmare for the Chicago Bears. If you're going to be that, if that's just what it is, then yes, as a Bears fan, and what to expect for this defense to be better, it's not going to be getting a big third down stop, you know, stuffing the runner. It's going to be getting a turnover, tripping the ball on a sack. It's going to be that. The ball being tipped up in the air on the line and somebody getting it. That's how this Bears defense is going to be able to do their part. Because other than that, it's going to be an uphill battle for them. And finally, the last note that I took from this Sunday Night Football matchup between San Francisco and Chicago, besides all the talents on the field, besides all the drama of the season and playoff seedings and divisional titles and everything else that comes from a 49ers Chicago Bears big time game, Kyle Shanahan, Ben Johnson, two great offensive minds, two guys that have done great things with their teams, that have had struggles, have had injuries, playing tough divisions, and found ways to get their teams in the position they're at right now. but it's two mad scientists, and as much as they give, they take away. And you can say from Ben Johnson's play calling at the very end of the game, you could give him the credit that if the hook and ladder between, was it Loveland and Swift, if it's man, it goes in, but since it's zone, it doesn't. There is a lot that is been beneficial. That is the reason why the Chicago Bears are in the position that they're at. Look across the NFL, especially the NFC, from the Sean McVays to the Kyle Shanahans to the Ben Johnsons, the Matt LaFleurs. You've seen what they're doing up in Seattle. What is it, McDonald? There is something about having great play. But there's something about having a leader that when it comes to crunch time, you have a coach that is flexible, that is strong, that is level-headed, that is risky, that is practical, and is able to do all of that in seconds, that doesn't get rattled. And you have to be okay with having that type of head coach, with having that type of leader, while loving all the results when they've been in your benefit, that if you're going to live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword. We've seen it this season. We're going to see it in the playoffs some point unless they win the whole thing. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with having somebody in that position that will get you in a place that you have to even consider this. But those were the three things. After Sunday Night Football, after a 38-42 loss, after an instant classic, after seeing some amazing things from Caleb Williams, seeing Luther Burden step up, I came away with this offense can go with anybody. This defense has to be better. And the only way they can be better is by taking the ball away and scoring, because they're not going to stop anybody else any other way. And that you have a mad scientist as a head coach. So you're going to live by the sword and you're going to die by the sword. These three notes, in my opinion, have two equations that have two results. One, you have enough magic, dark magic, mad scientist magic to make a deep run, because your offense can go with anybody, because your defense can take the ball away and score. And you have a coach that can win any chess match with any other coach. Those three things can win you a Super Bowl. But having an offense that can go with anybody, which then exposes your defense, who can allow any offense to keep up with you, and having a head coach that's going to be risky, that will put certain expectations and his players in certain positions to not only have a lot of glory, but have a lot of egg in all their faces, is a way to be one and done. So there's a lot of endless possibilities for the Chicago Bears. We can see them all the way back in an NFC championship matchup against San Francisco, back in Santa Clara, to win the NFC, to try to win the Super Bowl. Or they can have a nightmare matchup against the Green Bay Packers, and all of us are biting our nails all the way down to the bones. But that's what's great about this season, is that anything has been possible. But we are here to break down the Chicago Bears falling to the San Francisco 49ers 38-42 on Sunday Night Football in an instant classic here on the Sports Cubicle and Sports from the Couch on WSBC 1240 AM, WCPT 820 AM, HeartlandSignal.com, and on YouTube at the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. So what is next for the Chicago Bears? So from USA Today, Bears playoff scenarios. Here are the scenarios that would lead to each first-round matchup. Green Bay Packers. The Packers are the Bears' most likely opponent. Green Bay has already locked up the number 7 seed in the NFC playoff race, and Chicago has the inside track to the number 2 overall seed. Bears win in Week 18 versus the Lions, or Bears tie in week 18 versus the Lions, and Eagles tie week 18 versus the Commanders. Or finally, the Eagles lose week 18 versus the Commanders. The only way the Bears can lose the number 2 seed is if the Eagles overtake them in the standings, as Chicago owns a head-to-head tiebreaker over Philadelphia by virtue of its 24-15 win on Black Friday in week 13. And here is for the Seattle Seahawks, San Francisco 49ers, or Los Angeles Rams. If the Bears end up as the number 3 seed in the NFC, they will face one of 3 NFC West teams that made the playoffs. However, the only way the Bears will finish as the number 3 seed in the NFC is if the following occurs. Bears lose in week 18 versus the Lions, and the Eagles win or tie in week 18 versus the Commanders. Bears tie in week 18 versus the Lions, and the Eagles win in week 18 versus the Commanders. If either of the above results unfold, the Bears' opponent would depend on how the NFC West race shakes out. And you can check out the entire article and go more in detail on how the NFC playoffs will shake out. Who will Bears play in NFL playoff scenarios, potential wildcard matchups by Jacob Kamenker over on USA Today. And now we have a clearer picture. It's most likely going to be the Green Bay Packers, who the Chicago Bears match up against in the NFC wildcard round, and potentially an NFC West opponent. Here's the matter of fact. No matter what, it's a tough opponent. If it's an NFC West team, they bring a lot of problems to these Chicago Bears. If it's the Green Bay Packers, enough said. But the simple fact that it's a division rival that you've had 4 straight close games with, and it's the 3rd time you're playing them this season, it's not going to be easy. It's not the season to hope for an easy NFC playoffs. You could only be so lucky as a Chicago Bears fan this season. You can't get hung up on the matchup. You can only get hung up on, are you going to remain healthy? And are they going to be prepared? That is it. Because the likelihood of it being the Packers being so high, okay, you're going to let it go to the fates and hope that your team is just better than Green Bay. Because I think they're just better than the Packers this season, the way everything has played out. That doesn't mean, though, that the Packers can't win, that you wouldn't be surprised if the Packers won. So that's no gimme. The Niners are an absolute nightmare of a matchup for the Bears. We've seen that. The LA Rams, Matthew Stafford, had a bad game against Atlanta, but has had a great season. And Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, a team full of tight ends, Blake Corum and Kyron Williams. That's another offense that's a nightmare for the Chicago Bears that could put up a lot of points very quickly. Seattle, awesome defense, has 2 good running backs, smash mouth running backs. Jackson Smith and Jigba is one of the top receivers in the league. And if Sam Darnold's on, he's on. Now, he allows you the potential of getting to him, turning the ball over, seeing ghost, but they're really well coached. There's no gimme in the NFC West either. So it's tough going, which makes me think about the value of the coaching staff. The Bears already have the roster that they have. We know how talented and how they're playing this season. Can Dennis Allen scheme up and disguise the defense well enough in the first round of the playoffs to get a turnover or 2, to get a big time sack for his players, to set them up and to see them execute what we've seen them done time in and time out? They're going to give up points. And we know how much points come at premium in the NFL playoffs. But if he can coach them up to do that type of special thing, if Ben Johnson can continue to do what we've seen him do in the entire season and the maturation of this offense, and the offense to get a little bit healthier, the value is in its weight in gold for this coaching staff coming up. Because the NFL moves so fast, and a lot of these coaches won't be here over the next few years. So you got to take advantage of it now. This roster won't be the same next year. You got to take advantage of it now and the scenario you're in. As long as they clean things up like pros, the Bears have just as good a shot as anybody. Not only to win a game, have a nice run, but to make it to the Super Bowl, to win the whole damn thing. That is well within their capabilities if they do everything right. And like anybody else, they get a little bit of luck on their side. And this is something that we've talked about over the last few weeks on the Sports Cubicle and Sports from the Couch here on WCPT 820 AM, heartlandsignal.com, WSBC 1240 AM, Chicago, and on YouTube at the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. It's something we've talked a lot about over the last few weeks, and especially over these last few big-time wins, these big-time games for the Chicago Bears, is how legit they are, how other people perceive them, not teams in the NFL, not coaches, not players, because we know if you cover this team, if you read the beat reporters stuff, they're respected among the league. They have people's attention. But media, talking heads, podcasters, fans, they question the Chicago Bears. There's some legitimate questions, especially about their schedule. But I look at teams around the NFL and I think about why the perception is so different. And I want to compare them to a team, a betting slip that I have, Bears, Patriots in the Super Bowl. The Patriots are going to be the number one seed more than likely in the AFC. Great season. Drake May might be the MVP, especially because Stafford played so poorly on Monday night. But New England has a better defense. Chicago does special things on defense when it comes to turnovers. On the offensive side, Hunter Henry with Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet. Okay, like good tight ends. We know Diggs has always been a great tight end, but almost a rotation of guys in wide receiver for the Patriots. The Bears have DJ Moore, Luther Burden, Roman Dunze with healthy. We've seen guys step up on the wide receiver position. I think the Bears have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. And that's not to say New England doesn't, but I would take the Bears offensive line. And there might be metrics that say that I'm wrong. But just from the eye test, what I've seen from this running game, what I've seen from the way the Bears have put their will on defensive lines, I give it to Chicago. Drake May, MVP, like we said. Caleb Williams has shown us some great things that are not always on the stat sheet, that if other quarterbacks do, like let's say Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, who I think we're seeing a lot of Aaron Rodgers isms on the field with Caleb Williams, it's just talked about and just the highlight. That has not been the case here, right? And then coaching. Mike Vrabel, I think, is a good coach. I was hoping if Ben Johnson wasn't going to be the coach of the Bears, Mike Vrabel would be that. Ben Johnson has been a great hire. So you have Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel, who I wanted Vrabel if the Bears couldn't get Ben Johnson. But we've seen Vrabel take the tight ends very far, but also have a ceiling. We've seen some things, some stubbornness from Vrabel. Ben Johnson, we still haven't had enough time to have the full resume to see all the goods and bads. But just from the sample that I have seen, he's been flexible. They don't seem to make the same mistake so many times, more than twice, if you will. And he can call up special back-breaking plays. So you have all those dynamics. And if we are to bring in the schedule, New England has arguably the easiest schedule in the National Football League. But this is why I don't put a lot of stock, a lot of credence to that. You have to play the game that is in front of you. Those 60 minutes are 60 minutes of chaos. Anything can happen. Anybody can get hurt. The ball is weirdly shaped. Weather is always a contributor to crazy things. We see it in Buffalo every single week. So why is it that we are more forgiving? We give more credit. We have higher prestige to the New England Patriots this season than the Chicago Bears, other than an easier AFC, which we say now, but come January, anything can happen, right? Why is it more likely? Why am I smarter? Why is it better football content if I say New England is going to the Super Bowl? Well, not the Bears. You could find metrics. I am not sitting here saying to New England fans, because I just told you guys, I think the Patriots are beating the Bears in the Super Bowl. I think that is the Super Bowl in Santa Clara. My point being, why is it that some playoff teams, some franchises, some quarterbacks are allowed or are favored, and certain stats and arguments are used in their favor, but the same are used against other franchises, other players? That is the only thing that I always go back to. For everything that is for New England is the same for the Bears. And anything that is against the Bears, you could say for New England. Yet one is a huge time favorite to go to the Super Bowl, and one is questioned whether they get out of the first round, whether they're a fugazi, whether they should be divisional champions. So my question to you is, would you be surprised if we see them both get bounced in the first round or both in the Super Bowl? That's what makes these NFL playoffs so exciting. That's what makes the NFL so exciting in general. It's not just that anything can happen, it's that anything will happen. And the madness is just about to start. But we want to know your thoughts. Can the Chicago Bears win the Super Bowl? What did you learn from that big-time instant classic loss to San Francisco on Sunday Night Football? Are the New England Patriots a great example of don't listen to schedule arguments, watch the games, and watch the results? And if that's the case, should we be doing the same thing for the Chicago Bears? Let us know your comments down below right here on the Sports Cubicle and Sports from the Couch on WCPT 820 AM, HeartlandSignal.com, WSBC 1240 AM, Chicago, and on YouTube at the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado.